In the Championship so far this summer, we have seen several bargain deals go through, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. I've gone ahead and compiled a starting 11 based on the best free transfers that have gone through in the Championship so far. Now, I have set a couple of rules for this video to be included in the starting 11. Obviously, the player had to have moved this summer on a free transfer, so no money involved. And I've also gone ahead and limited it to one player per club in the team. I'd like to get some of your thoughts down below. Who do you think have been the best free signings in the Championship so far this season? But without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out in goal, I have gone for Begovic, who's moved over to QPR on a free transfer. There were a few other different goalkeepers that I could have chucked into this one, but I actually think that Begovic is a really savvy pickup by QPR. There were times last season when the QPR goal was being peppered with shots, and Seny Dieng didn't have his greatest of seasons. He's since moved on and gone to Middlesbrough, and in terms of like for likes, I actually think that QPR could have upgraded in the goalkeeping department, having not paid a single penny for Begovic. The only potential downside to this deal is the fact that Begovic is now 36 and he's not played that much football over the past couple of seasons, as he has been warming the bench for Everton. But last time he was in the Championship back in 20/21, he was one of the best goalkeepers at this level for Bournemouth. That season he kept 15 clean sheets, boasted a save percentage of 75.3%, which was one of the best save percentages in the Championship. And QPR just needed a commanding shot stopper who's going to be able to do that job for them, and I think they got just that in Begovic. In at right back, I've gone for Stacy, who's moved over to Norwich this summer on a free transfer. Norwich have used the free agent market fairly well so far. I could have included a few other of the free agents they picked up, but I'm probably most excited about Stacy. I think the former Bournemouth defender came into Carrow Road with the thought process that Max Aarons will probably be leaving this summer. A move for him is yet to go through, but I think that could still be on the cards for later in the window. And Stacy's a player who I think has a point to prove. His career somewhat stalled last season at Bournemouth, where he didn't play that much in the Premier League, but back in the Championship now, I think he's a really powerful runner from right back, and potentially gives Norwich something a little bit different down that right hand side, where they've become accustomed to Max Aarons and his progression has sort of faltered in recent years. I think they've now got someone in Stacy who's got a point to prove, has already smashed it at this level previously, and I think will be one of the most motivated people to get this Norwich side back up and challenging at the top end of the Championship. In as my first centre half, I've gone for Joel Latibadair, who's joined Coventry, technically on a free transfer. Now, there was some compensation involved in this deal. I believe Swansea receiving around about £500,000 in the end, but his contract at Swansea had run out and he was technically available on a free transfer. Coventry swooped in for him in the end amid a bit of interest from Luton as well at some points. But it's a deal that has got me excited. He certainly had a bit of an inconsistent ride from my viewing last season at Swansea, but he was played in a variety of different positions, was used as centre half, right back, wing back, even as a holding midfielder at times for Jamaica. So a highly versatile player who I feel like if he's able to nail down a position at Coventry, we could see him making those next steps in his career. I think he's probably best right hand side of a back three, and if there's one manager who I trust in the Championship to oversee someone's development and get them back on track, it is Mark Robins. A classic example we can use in this one is someone like a Victor Gyökeres, who didn't really look like he was pulling up too many trees at Swansea. He then made that move over to Coventry, and suddenly under Robins he was absolutely transformed. He's still at an age at 23 where he's capable of being moulded, and that potential can still be got out, and in the right system I do think there's a good player there. Partnered alongside him, I've gone for Julio Gonzola, who's joined Plymouth Argyle on a free transfer, having had some really solid years with FC Twente in the Eredivisie. Almost racked up 100 appearances for the Dutch club and is now back in English football, having previously come up through the Arsenal Youth Academy. He's 26 years old and I can't wait to see him in action in that Plymouth squad. They've added to their squad quite well so far, both with free transfers and using a little bit of the transfer funds available to them this summer. But on a free transfer, I think Gonzola is going to be an excellent pickup. In at left back, of course, I've got to go for Ryan Manning. Now, I was spoiled for choice with the left back position, really, because there have been so many high quality signings in this department on free transfers. The likes of Ida Silva signing for Coventry, Joe Bryan signing for Millwall, amongst others. But Of all of them, I think Ryan Manning has to be the best of the bunch. He's joining a Southampton project that I'm really excited about this season under a manager in Russell Martin, who he's obviously had some great years with previously at Swansea. Last season, Manning was probably one of the best left-sided defenders in the Championship, certainly from a creative output, scoring 5 goals, getting 10 assists, very versatile in the positions he can play. Southampton will get a great creative output from him from that left-hand side next season, and I just think he ticks so many boxes. It's no surprise that half the Championship were interested in Manning when it was announced that he would be leaving Swansea, and I think the Saints have got a great deal with that one. In as my first holding midfielder, I've gone for Sondre Tronstad, who's joined Blackburn on a free transfer this summer. Just think this one will turn out to be a really solid bit of business by John Dole Thomason's side. Blackburn already had a pretty solid defensive record from last season. They only conceded 54 goals throughout the entire campaign, but I think Tronstad gives them that extra defensive protection going into next season. Someone who will be happy to sweep up everything in front of the top 4, and by all accounts is a player who's going to keep things simple and tidy and ticking over when he is on the ball as well. Loves to get stuck in with a tackle. Last season in the Eredivisie averaging 1.9 tackles per 90. Just the sort of player who I think will be a natural fit into that Rovers system and will allow some of their other creative sparks to have that licence to roam on and go forward, knowing that a player like Tronstad will be backing them up behind them to go ahead and sweep up any times they go ahead and give the ball away. Next to him in midfield, I had to go for Aaron Ramsey. I just enjoyed the whole storyline of this one really. Ramsey going back to the club where it all began for him, turning down a big offer from Saudi, and considering the restrictions that Cardiff are having to work under in this transfer window because of the embargo, they've actually got pretty creative with their business so far. We all knew that goals were a major problem with that Cardiff squad from last season. They need to add a little bit more creativity and final product to their play, and who better to go ahead and deliver that than Aaron Ramsey. Now there are some factors to take into consideration with this one, both positives and negatives, but I think overall the positives probably do go ahead and outweigh the negatives, considering the upgrade that Ramsey will give Cardiff in that position compared to what they had last season. And probably the biggest thing to take into consideration will be how Cardiff go ahead and manage his minutes going into next season. Across the last 5 seasons of Ramsey's career, he's only averaged around 14 starts per season, and in a 46-game season in the Championship, that is going to be something that Cardiff are going to have to monitor quite closely with Ramsey at this stage of his career and how many injuries he's had throughout that time. But overall, it is a deal that I'm very excited about and potentially a player who could drag them up a level. In the number 10 role, I have gone for Daniel Johnson, who has joined Stoke City on a free transfer after some great years of service with Preston North End. He's linking up with Alex Neil, who he worked at with Preston, and I'd say that Alex Neil probably got the best out of DJ. Out of all the managers that he had while at Preston, I think him and Neil really clicked together. From an output point of view, DJ's best season in the Championship came in 2019/20 when Alex Neil was the manager. He scored 12 goals and got 7 assists that season. I personally think he's best utilised as far up the pitch as possible. He is versatile where he can play a number of different roles in midfield, but I think you get so much more out of him when you do play him in a more creative role higher up the pitch, and I think his performances sometimes suffer when he's used a little bit further back. It's no secret that he's not coming off the finest of seasons with Preston last time around. He only got 1 goal and 3 assists last season, but ultimately I think DJ was a player who was probably in need of a little bit of a fresh challenge away from Preston, and I do think there's the potential to tap into where he could rejuvenate his career this season at Stoke if all goes well. The guy's ice cool from the penalty spot, knows how to pick a pass, and while he can be massively frustrating at times and he will have his patches of inconsistency because that's just the sort of player he is, when he's on it, he absolutely is a game changer at this level. On the left hand side, I've gone for Koji Miyoshi, who's joined Birmingham City on a free transfer this summer. I think he'll add a little bit more flair and electricity to that Blues side that was solid last season, albeit a little bit boring at times. They were amongst the lowest scorers in the Championship last season. I think they've needed that injection of flair, which they've added with Dembele coming in as well. But Miyoshi comes with a really exciting reputation, and if Birmingham do manage to keep him fit over an entire season, I think there's really a lot of potential there for him to be a very exciting player at this level. Coming in off the right hand side, I've gone for Alex Gilbert, who's joined Middlesbrough on a free transfer this summer from Brentford. Now, it has technically gone down as a free transfer, but like a few other deals that we've discussed, some compensation was owed for this deal because of his age. I just think he's a really intriguing footballer. Not all too much is known about him because he's not played that much at senior level, but had an an excellent record with Brentford's B team, and by all accounts Brentford wanted to keep him on at the club. A fresh offer had been given to Gilbert, but he instead decided to sign for Middlesbrough, where he thought there'd be a greater chance of breaking into the first team. He's a creative player who will look to make things happen, and at 21 years old, I think now is the time that he wants to break into a first team and really make his stamp on the English game. Whether or not he makes an immediate impact at Middlesbrough, it will remain to be seen, but in terms of untapped potential, I think there's a lot there with Gilbert, especially working under a progressive coach like Michael Carrick. Finishing it off with my number 9, I've gone for Healy, who's joined Watford on a free transfer from Toulouse. Had an excellent record with the French club, scoring 40 goals in 77 appearances. Now the drawback with this deal is Healy is coming off the back of a big injury from last season with an ACL, but striker was a problem position for Watford this summer, which they needed to go ahead and fix, and they probably could still do with some more cover in that position, especially with Keenan Davis returning on loan and Joao Pedro having been sold as well. But in terms of a goal threat, I think Healy will offer quite a bit for Watford next season, provided that he does hit those same heights after coming back from that ACL injury. But there we have it though, guys. Those are my thoughts on my personal best 11 of free transfers that have gone through in the Championship so far. There were plenty of other players that I wanted to include in today's video. I just couldn't go ahead and fit them all into the same starting 11, but if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content, and I'll see you all in the next one.